We're hiring. Get off that protest line and put an application in. And we'll put you in your neighborhood and we will help you resolve some of the problems you're protesting about.
Dallas Police Chief David Brown says he's looking for citizens who solve problems versus ones who only protest. My political power panel is back. Author of the new book, Con Job, Crystal is here. Deneen Borelli, Julie Roginsky with me again. What is your opinion, Crystal, on the police chief's comments?
I think he's exactly right. Instead of getting out there in the community, disrupting the community, threatening police officers, why not put your mouth, your money where your mouth is, so to speak? Get a job in the police force, right? You think there's too many white cops? Apply to be a police officer, pass the test. But so, do I really think any of those Black Lives Matter protesters are going to heed the call? No. And I think one quick thing I want to point out, the Washington Post did an investigative analysis last year, and you know what they found? Of the 990 people that were killed by police officers wrongfully, nearly 500 were white and about 250 were black. And finally, I take great offense that Julie thinks that because Deneen and I don't share her skin color, we're supposed to stick up for the black president. Julie, you can be white, you can have an opinion. Please don't try to get in my head. And that is exactly the problem. You perpetuate this notion that because we're one gender or we're one color, everybody has to think a certain way. Please stop that. Like the earlier guest said.
That was actually not my point, but if you want to, Crystal,
it sounded
keep
like
going.
Your point. Well, it sounded like your point. And finally, all I want to say is, as Dan Bongino said earlier, are there problems with police profiling blacks? Of course. They're bad cops like they're bad black people, like they're bad white people, Hispanics. And I'm for rooting that out. But, there's fact and there's a lot of fiction. Blacks are the ones committing disproportionate amount of homicides because they're coming from broken families. I write at length about the racial division that Barack Obama has created over the last 7 years because of his lies and the Democrats.
Julie, best way forward in your view?
Well, one of the ways forward is not to put words in my mouth, but if Crystal wants to get some extra Twitter followers based on which nonsense she's spouting, that's good for her. Listen, the best pathway forward is essentially to say the following. I think the president was absolutely right. I think David Brown has been a model for how to behave. And I think at this, especially today, during the funerals of these people, I think George Bush had an excellent point today when he spoke today at the funeral, which is essentially to say, stop taking the worst example of society and castigating an entire race or an entire group based on the behavior of the worst people in that society.
Deneen, the last word goes to you.
Well, I think Chief Brown made a great point to include the individuals in the community. He dropped out of college to help his community, to keep his streets safe, and he rose in the ranks to chief of police.
Was a victim
He's a great
of
example.
violence, his family, his working partner. He seems an amazing man. All right, I thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Deneen, Julie, and Crystal, thank you.
Thanks.